Hello Nifties, welcome to kNittieNicole. I am Nicole and we are a crafting community, crafting community. So grab your work in progress, also known as a whip, and let's start our 10-minute crafting break. Today I am drinking iced coffee. It is Korean coffee and it's in my favorite Eeyore cup, and in the inside it says, "The struggle is real." I hope you can see that. So I love crafting, so this is not the struggle, but everyday work kind of is. I am working on my son's baby blanket, and this blanket, I started it when he was a baby, and it is pretty hefty, but it is also not done. So I'd like to tell you a little bit more about that later. But first, I wanted to thank you all for joining us today. I'm so grateful that you would take 10 minutes out of your day to be in community with other Nifties. The thing about the 10 minutes is that I feel like 10 minutes is an amount of time that you could take for yourself that feels a little bit substantial. Like sometimes it's a little hard to make 10 minutes, but also an amount of time that is perhaps doable. And I was specifically thinking about people who have a 30-minute lunch break. So if you brought your craft to work, if it was something that was portable, like this one's a little bit big at this point, but I do have other crafts that I often carry around in my bag. And when I do that, I could maybe use the restroom really quick, heat up my food, and then spend 10 minutes doing a little craft, having a little time for myself so that it feels like a real break. And I know that you're, of course, watching this on YouTube, but you could just listen to it on YouTube, and you could listen to the stories I tell or the things that I teach you, and you don't have to be on your phone doom scrolling, which is how I often spend my lunch breaks. After our 10-minute time is up, then you might do something like use the restroom again, wash your hands, everything, and then you could go back to work, and you would have had a real break versus sometimes, and I'm more guilty of this even more than doom scrolling, just working through lunch. And that's not right, in that we all should take a little bit break. All of our brains need a chance to relax and refresh ourselves. And so that's what this is about. And specifically at one of my school sites, I know that for the adults, they kind of try to stagger the lunches so that not all the adults get to have lunch at the same time. And, I understand the logistics of that, but sometimes it can be lonely because we all know that the best lunches are shared with other people. Well, that's just my opinion, but I'm hoping that you'll think so too, and that's part of the reason that you'll want to be in this community, this crafting community. So I am not knitting today. This is a knitting project, and you can tell because I have 2 sets of needles, but what happened was I actually made a mistake, and mistakes happen, especially when you work on a project for over a decade. I can't remember when exactly I started this project, but it was still when my son was young. He was definitely not walking, not talking, and it was difficult to find time. It's funny though, because you think, oh my gosh, as soon as he starts walking, I'm gonna have more time. But any mom or anyone who's ever raised children, you don't have to be a mom, any person who's seen children grow up knows that once they start walking, you don't actually have more time. And then I would say to myself, oh, as soon as he goes to school, I'm gonna have more time. And I did end up having a little bit more time when he went to school, but work happens and our jobs happen, and that is that's really life. And that's part of the reason that I wanted to make this crafting group, because life does happen. So I just wanted to show you a little bit about this project. It was supposed to be a baby blanket, but I was winging it, and I just picked a random number of stitches that I thought that I liked. My favorite number is 3, and so I thought, oh, 30 stitches, that's not enough. And then what's the next big 3 number? 300. So I ended up making 300, like casting on 300 stitches. And I started over here. Here's the bottom. Let's see. And it's so big you can't even find it. Here it is. Okay, so I started with this pattern, which is, I think it's called houndstooth. And so it's white, gray, and red. And then I wanted to make stripes. And you can see I did a simple basic red, and then I'm doing the gray between. Here I did a seed stitch, and it looks pretty complex and beautiful, but it's actually just knit, purl. So it's just the 2 stitches, and I feel like it gives a nice texture. I then did this, I think it's called houndstooth again. So I did that again, but I don't know if you can tell already, but one is much bigger than the other. And I didn't notice it until actually today, I think. Well, I think I did notice it maybe a few years ago, but I didn't give a lot of paid a lot of attention to it. I counted the reds, so 1, 2, 3, 4, and then I said, okay, I'm just gonna do 4, 1, 2, 3, 4 reds, and it's gotta be the same. And I figured that it was because I was maybe a little bit stressed out, because when I'm stressed, I do knit much tighter. And I thought, oh, I'm more relaxed here, so that was good. This is called a brioche stitch, and I love it, but it was so hard. It was so hard, and I remember doing this brioche stitch when I was on my last actual really big road trip. I took it with my mom and my dad and my son, and it was really the last time that I was in a car for an extended amount of time. And you can see there are some errors here, and the main big error is this one. And I told myself, oh, it's fine, it's in the middle. I can tell everyone that I did it on purpose. And I definitely could tell everyone, and maybe some people wouldn't even know that it's a mistake, but I know it's a mistake. I know it's a mistake, and every time I look at it, I see it. So this was so difficult for me to do, especially because I get car sick and I was driving in the car. So I was like, oh, I won't notice it. And I moved on to the next red. And I don't know if you can tell, but it's going the pattern, red, white, pattern, and then I'm flipping it, white, red. And this time I did this really cute stitch. And I think that there aren't too many errors in this one. Thank goodness. But I really like this. And once again, this is just knit and purl. And that's what I think is so fun about knitting, is that just with 2 stitches, you get really different looks. And then I ran out of this light gray, and I went to the store, and all they had was this dark gray. And sometimes they tell you, buy enough skeins of the same yarn to make sure that you have enough to finish your whole project. But I didn't have that kind of money, so I just figured, oh, it's a simple brand, and I'll be able to just have it and it'll be fine. But unfortunately that wasn't the case, and I ran out. So I thought, okay, it still looks good. And this is actually the exact middle of the blanket. And then I'm gonna flip it, and I'm gonna do the red. This is a cute, I don't know, kind of like a happy face stitch, I feel like. So I like that. And then here, the last one I did was this diamond pattern. And then now I'm going to start doing the houndstooth again. And I realized, oh, that this was not because I was stressed. It's because I used a smaller needle. And I've been using smaller needles, and it has, I realized that. So I'm going to have to undo what I've done, which is what I was doing before I showed you my blanket. I'm undoing it, and I'm going to have to start again. And the lesson from the brioche stitch is that we should do it as soon as we can. So, once again, I did not finish because I was telling you my story, but I would love to see you tomorrow again. And if you enjoyed our 10-minute crafting break, or if you feel just a little bit more peace after spending time in community with other Nifties, I hope that you will like the video and share it with a friend who you think might enjoy or benefit from a 10-minute crafting break. Today, if you could, in the comments, tell us where you're from, and don't forget to post your progress today in our threads. Yesterday, we had Yaz, and Yaz posted her a cross stitch. She was doing French knots, and Yaz has such a great aesthetic, and her cross stitch was just evidence of that. And so I hope that you will pop on over to see that. And today, please post your own. And if you would, leave a comment and definitely follow us. Have a great day. I'll see you tomorrow. And tomorrow, I promise, knitting origin story.